Hello, Gems! Welcome to another episode of Tiaras and Tech. I'm your host, Shelley Benhoff, and today I'm talking to Audrey Marshall, COO and co-founder of Thematic. We talked about how Thematic offers a copyright-free experience for content creators, supports new music artists, and her thoughts on how people often find it surprising that she is in tech. Without further ado, on to the episode. Hey Audrey, welcome to the show. I'm so glad that you're here.
Thank you so much for having me, Shelley. I'm really excited for our conversation today.
Yeah, awesome. So, as always, I start every episode the same way. Let's jump right in and have you tell us how did you get into tech?
You know what? It was something I never expected would happen. It was not, a clear career path for me. I've always been really into the internet. I've always told my mom, like, don't worry, I have a job. I'm just really good at the internet. So I was lucky enough to like come of age, in high school when MySpace was just starting, like one of the first generations to hit with Facebook. Started working with like DIY music distribution platforms in like 2008, 2009, and really just like constantly exploring the digital tools available to me. But when I started Thematic in 2016, like you can consider me a non-technical founder, right? I had a lot of experience with digital rights management. Like I could get by on doing some WordPress code, but I was like by no means had any idea of how to like we have this idea for a product, but I didn't know who we needed to bring on to make it happen. I didn't understand the infrastructure of tech. I was like totally green, which is, funny looking back of, 5 or 6 years ago, very different place. So when we first started the platform, we hired a team. We brought people on to build us out to a public beta. And we really like along the way, I started to learn. I'm one of those people who's always like trying to figure things out. Be like, okay, how do I do this? You need this. I'll figure out how to deliver it to you. So learning from the team, and then after the public beta, we were kind of in between development resources, and we had to ad hoc hire to like sustain the platform, to do bug fixes, and like I think that's where I really just like latched on to figure out, okay, this is what you got to do, this is who you got to talk to, and really immerse myself in the product. So since I would say mid 2020, I've just dove head in. Now I'm leading the product. I am the main liaison between our tech and development team and our other part of the company. So I'm just like head first. Very unexpected to be here, but I love it. I still have so much to learn, and like I'm still not a coder engineer in that regard, but I do feel like I'm way more immersed and appreciate that part of the equation a lot more now that I went through this whole evolution.
Yeah, absolutely. It's interesting. I hear a lot when people are like, I'm not technical, but you know what? You are technical. If you have touched code and you like understand what's happening, that is all you need. You don't have to be, like a whiz or a genius at that. It's a skill. That's all. I just hear people like apologizing for not being technical. Like CEOs have done this to
Oh,
me,
I didn't.
and I'm just like, what you you're the CEO of a tech company. Why are you telling me that you aren't technical? Like clearly you are.
Right. It's like a defense mechanism. It's
Yeah.
like, don't ask me to
Um
tell you how this is coded, but like I know
it
it works,
is.
right?
Yeah, and I'm just wondering if it comes from a place like has anybody ever told you that you're not technical or like made you feel bad?
Not at all. Probably the opposite. Like, our CTO is like,
Yeah.
you're very technical. Like, you have a great dialogue with our engineers. Like, they get you, you have a shorthand. And I'm like, great. I know it. Like, I'm just of that characteristic of like, I want to be the best at what I do, whether it be like cleaning a window
Yes.
or like making a product and delivering the best experience. I'm one of those people who's just like, watch me. Like, let's do this.
Oh my God. I love that. We're so kindred spirits. Anybody that listens to this regularly just knows I just go for things. I just do it. Like
Love it.
life is short, right? And
Exactly.
you just have to do it. And it's worth putting all in, like just
Always.
really, really going for it. And don't be scared. Yeah. Anyway, let's talk about your product. I was so excited when I got this request for the guest. I was like, Thematic, like I've totally heard of that,
That's
you know?
amazing. I love that.
Tell us all about it.
Sure. So Thematic is a collaborative platform where video creators can license music for their videos in exchange for promotion to the artist. So the creators get great trending music from real artists and for free. Everyone can access this, whether you're the biggest creator in the world or literally posting your first video. We wanted to serve as an entire creative class. On the other side, the music artists are able to get their music placed and featured by influencers, which then gets their songs in front of new audiences. They can drive more Spotify streams, they can get more Instagram engagement, and it's really just a win win on both sides. What we found early on is, back when I was first out of college, I was working at an independent record label trying to service, it's like the era of YouTube's just like a thing. Like, how do we utilize this as part of our distribution strategy? And we were lucky enough to be connected with my now co-founder, Michelle Fawn, to place music in her videos. And we saw immediately of like this need of, these artists are like, how do I get my song promoted? I don't have a budget to pay this influencer. Like, I can't afford it. It's a brand, I'm a brand and this is my product. I can't pay them for a brand placement. And then Michelle and other creators at the time were like, hey, I have this audience. Like, clearing music is so complicated and confusing. Like, can you help me find a song that's cool and like relevant that like I can promote them? I have a huge audience. And we're like, you two should be talking. Like, let's do this. So we were a matchmaker from like, I would say that's like our MVP of like back in 2009 when we first started doing it. And it's really just connecting these two parties who have different things to offer, but maybe don't know how to exchange and creating a one-to-one value exchange between the two, which is really fun and exciting because it's like, I'm of the perspective of like, you have all these corporate people trying to tell creative people what to do. And I'm like, no, 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 no. The creative people know exactly what they should do. Let them come together and, support each other in a very authentic way.
Yeah, I love that. And it's so interesting that we're having this conversation today. I just got my first YouTube channel
Love it.
monetized like literally today.
That's an
So
achievement.
I'm going to be
Congratulations.
dealing with, thank you so much. Yeah, you know what's weird about that channel? I haven't posted on it in 2 years, but I'm, a author and I've
Yep.
been promoting the channel in all of my courses. So people sign up. But anyway, yeah, so that's monetized, and I'm going to be wading through the copyright, issues and strikes. I'm excited.
Oh, we're here to help and
That'll be
subscribe.
fun.
I'll be there up in your comment
Yeah,
section. I love that.
yeah, absolutely. So the whole idea here of providing YouTube, you know, creators, YouTube has very strict rules about music use and copyrights and all of that. If a creator has anything in there and it's monetized, it is immediately demonetized and all of that stuff. How does your product provide a claim free experience?
Sure. It's a great question. That was one of our primary concerns. Like, I've been working with creators like Michelle Fawn, for a while, and other YouTube creators, music artists, and was able to get my hands on YouTube's Content ID system as one of the first music label CMS back in 2011. So I feel like I'm an old veteran in this space. So I just dove head in on that and really understood, both as someone who was managing content, optimizing content, building YouTube channels, but at the same time managing rights for music artists on YouTube, the friction that was happening between the parties, right? So we would negotiate these deals for Michelle to use music, or for another beauty creator to use music, and if we weren't able to block the copyright claim from happening, it would still be like, well, I thought we did this right. Or like, it's just a negative experience, especially if, if somebody doesn't know the infrastructure of it. It's like, I thought I did everything right. Or like, I'm in trouble, and you get that email right away. And you're like, oh my God, I just spent so long on this video, and you don't want to just have that first negative impression. So understanding that friction point was a big concern to us of like, well, how do we make it so it's not so scary? So when the creator who does everything right, gets all the permission, has a license, there's an agreement, they still don't get hit with a copyright claim, right? So understanding that nuance of how content ID works very early on, we were able to build in an experience utilizing Content ID in a very smart way to communicate with our system, utilizing APIs. It's like what we call our rights engine. It's like automatically validating and activating music licenses as soon as that user video is uploaded. So you as the content creator, we check everything in the background. We know that you're using a song, but you're never affected with the copyright claim. So it all happens in the background. We validate, make sure that the music artist is taken care of, but like, you don't have to freak out. You're just like, oh, cool. Like everything's good. I can post my video. I could just get on with my day. So we developed that process. I think we were the first people to do that. It was like 2016, and we just figured out a way to utilize the system to make it work for the creators, which was fun. It's like, I'm like so glad we did that, because it's alleviated a lot of the concerns for a lot of our creators and just made it a very carefree experience.
Yeah, absolutely. I'm so glad you did that. Honestly, I actually haven't put any music in any of my videos because I feel like I don't want to even go there.
Right? And it's so complicated.
But
There's so many,
now,
yeah, there's so
again,
many music rights, and it's like, who do I talk to? They're going to charge me money, or like, is it the right vibe? Is it worth it? Yeah, there's too much risk, I think, for a lot of people, but we're here to make it easy.
yeah, absolutely. I was actually on the site earlier, and I'm sorry this question wasn't in my list, but I'm just curious. It looks like it kind of recommends
It does.
your like personal tastes. How does that work? That is so cool.
Yeah. So again, understanding the friction point from creators of like, how scary or awful would it be to be like, here's the entire Spotify library, find something that works for you? Like, that's not helpful to me. Like, I rely on recommendations, and like, I'm expecting these platforms to learn from what I enjoy. So then I could spend less time just being like, filter, and like, what's a genre anyway? Like, I don't know. I listen to everything, right? A pop song could be a rap song, could be a country song these days, right? Like, I don't know what genre. I just know that I want it to feel like this, or like, this is who I am as a creator. So we built that into our curation process of matching based on like your preferred musical taste and the creators you're following, and the people you're talking to, like just building all of those different like aesthetics into the flow to really deliver an experience that as soon as you land in the product, you have recommendations based on who you are as a creator, the types of content you're creating. We know what music is doing well in cooking videos, and like maybe it's different music that's happening in beauty videos, and really allowing you to cut through the clutter of all these songs that may not be relevant to you, to just make it easy. Like, we're trying to make content creation easy, so then you get what you need and you can get on and post your content and build your business. That being said, we do have, if somebody's like, hey, I usually like this, but today I need a salsa beat because I'm doing something unique. Like, we still have those filters. People can still find, using the traditional ways of finding music, but I feel like that's more for certain circumstances, right? When you're looking for something specific. But otherwise, it would be more about like, great, here's like the 10 songs that are going to be great for your next video.
That is so cool. Oh my God. Yeah. I'm like in love with this thing. um, yeah. So, uh, nobody has a, you know, foresight like 100%, but, what do you kind of think the future looks like for content creators?
Sure. Um, it's always evolving, but I think the through point is that creators want to be able to create and express themselves easy. And I think even just between when I first started working in this industry in the late 2000s, 2009. I don't know how to like, the late aughts to now. We've seen a
The
shift, right?
aughts,
The
yeah.
aughts.
It's so weird.
The platform shift, but like the goal of creators is the same, right? How do I create and build an audience and monetize? So the tools change, the platforms change, but the goal is the same. So I think what we've even seen in that time frame of different tools and resources coming to help the content creation process be a lot easier. So we looked at a short, transition from short form to long form to short form to long form. We're constantly seeing this battle, but it's about how do we make content creation easier and more streamlined so then creators aren't hit with all of these like licensing landmines of like, oh no, a copyright claim, or like, oh no, we have to do this, but really just allowing a more collaborative environment, allowing people to work together easy. You look at what we're doing on YouTube, we're allowing these two entities to come together and create new content in a meaningful way where the creator has great music that maybe they otherwise wouldn't have been able to use. And they're not dealing with the copyright claims, right? So it's, again, making it easier. Or on TikTok and YouTube Shorts, you see a lot of the react content. So you are reacting and you're building off of somebody else's video, right? It's part of this whole remix culture that we're in of like, well, how does that work with the rights? Like, how does that work where I get to use this song in this capacity? So I think it's a matter of allowing a more streamlined content creation flow and a lot more collaboration between different types of creators. I do think there's a lot of opportunity in the future to, right now, there are a lot of creators who are going from maybe one platform to other platforms. So people who are starting on TikTok and then graduating to posting on YouTube, right? Or like you're a podcast creator and then you're going to YouTube, right? So we're seeing a lot of multi-platform creators, and how do we service that new type of creative class in a very beneficial way? Like how do we clear everything for all platforms? How do we make sure you can easily cut and promote the platform content between platforms? So then you can easily take your YouTube video, get this funny part of it, promote it on TikTok as a distribution channel, extract this piece from your podcast and put it as a video, right? You know what I mean? I think there's different ways to make the content sharing and creation process easier. And so that's what I'm hoping for. Like, we'll see, right? As you said, who can know for sure? But I do think like there's no slowdown of content creation. There's no slowdown. And I think everyone's becoming a creator. You know what I mean? Like, I have an Instagram and I make the occasional
Yeah,
travel video, but I do not consider myself of any status of like, but my community is my friends and family, right? Of like the people who are into travel and hiking videos and stuff. So I think a blurring of lines as well between, am I a creator? Yeah, everyone's a creator. Everyone's putting something out there.
absolutely. And it's so, again, so great that you honed in on multi platform. So let me tell you what I do. Like last night, I streamed on TikTok, preparing for my Twitch stream. And then I streamed on both for a little while. I take the Twitch stream, I, I put it on YouTube. I take clips of it. I put them on TikTok and YouTube Shorts. Like
Right?
literally, everything you just said is absolutely correct. And I am just doing what I've seen other people do, and it worked for them. And so I was like, okay, I'll try this out. And I have
Right?
like multiple channels that I post to. Yeah, absolutely. It's very complicated
It's
to be a
complicated.
content creator. It takes a long time.
It doesn't, you're
It
advanced in
takes
the,
a really long time.
yeah, you understand like you're competent in that, but think of how scary that is for someone who's maybe like, I don't know, I'm just doing this on my iPhone, or like they don't have that knowledge. So it's like there's so many hurdles, I think, and a lot of friction points we can still work to reduce and just how do we make this easier? Like everyone's got a story to tell, everyone's got a perspective that would be great to share. So like let's make it easy. Let's not make it for the people with the fancy cameras and like editing equipment. Like,
Yeah.
and we're getting there. I see it, over the years of, just even being able to create a YouTube video from your phone and upload it right there. Like, worlds are changing.
It's really hard now because, like, yeah, the world is changing. YouTube started out like just anything. But as time has progressed, you can tell the popular videos clearly have like a clear format. They were filmed a certain way. They look professional. That's what's expected on YouTube.
Mm-hmm.
Now, TikTok, I think, is where it's just anybody, whatever, people walking outside and talking to their phone. That's
Right.
actually something that I've tried, but it's too hard for me to walk and talk at the same
Yeah,
time.
I'm gonna walk into a
Yeah,
hole.
it's so interesting. That's what, yeah, like I literally almost walked into a dog while I was filming something. So I was like,
You're like,
maybe
this is
not
too
again.
dangerous.
Too much. Yeah. Well, next I have a segment that I like to call Precious Gems. Hold on. And I share a um, quote from a person on either, Instagram, Twitter, TikTok, Twitch now. Yeah. So this week, the comment was on the episode on mentoring with Gabriella. And the quote was, "When I work from home, I used to feel like I missed personal interaction. Video chat helps to make you feel closer to your colleagues, and without it, we could not make this happen," which is so true. And then on Instagram, I said Instagram, like grandmother, Instagram. Aki, she is a great, great person. She actually said something that was so interesting. The funny thing about video chat is that her colleagues in Asia don't show their faces on the video calls, whereas her colleagues in Europe do. I thought that was interesting because I work with people all around the world too, and like I've also seen this trend. It's just,
Totally.
I
Yeah,
don't
I've
know.
definitely seen. I saw it. It's so
Yeah.
funny, especially early during lockdown. Everyone was on video because we're like, I guess this is what we're doing, right?
Yeah,
But I did feel a shift maybe last year. I don't know what year we're in at this point, but like at a certain point,
I know,
I
right?
found more people, even locally, just like transition to just be audio only and have the expectation of like, well, not everything needs to be a face to face because I honestly can't probably count on one hand how many just audio calls I've had with people since lockdown started a few years ago. Whereas before, I feel like that was so common. Like you're either in person or it's an audio call. And we've just transitioned to be like, that's almost not part of my setup at all these days. But I do feel like I always default to video. I don't care what I look like half the time. I'm in some workout clothes. I'm just very comfortable of like I'll talk to anyone, like whatever. We're all doing our thing. We're in this new world and new era, and that has allowed me to I think connect with people like to Gabriella's point of like being able to see someone's reaction or to like understand where they're coming from or maybe they're having a vibe that day and they need support outside of what the work interaction is. So I think it's definitely this weird balance, but I am seeing a shift of more audio calls, and maybe it's regional, maybe not. But it's I forgot about them for a while.
Yeah, totally. And I keep saying like one of the industries that has flourished during this, pandemic and everything is the pajama and yoga pants
Love it. That's
industries.
all I wear.
Because that's pretty much what people are wearing. Me too. Oh my God. Like, and it was not like this before, but every single day I'm just in
Oh,
yoga
workout
pants
clothes
and like a t-shirt. Yeah,
all
I'm
the time.
comfortable all day long. Yeah, it's awesome. All right, back to you. So you have some YouTube certifications that I have never heard of. Please tell us all about that.
Sure. So YouTube started their certified program, I believe, in 2013. And so I remember that first class we were invited in, and it was in person at the YouTube space at the time. And it was like this day training. It was really just diving into the YouTube playbook or like diving in to rights management. These courses are available to people who are currently actively working with Content ID, who have a partner manager on YouTube. So people who really understand the infrastructure, and I think it's like such a great program by YouTube. I think everyone who is working with Content ID should be required to take these because it's really just giving you that fundamental basis of like, here's how everything works in the back end. Like, here's how you should be treating content. These are the guidelines. Like, don't do bad things here, right? Like, we need to respect copyright and make sure that everything's being handled properly. So they have the courses have changed over the years, but the idea behind them has always been about like rights management and asset monetization, which is like, how do you treat content within YouTube? How do you respect copyright? And how do you monetize or protect your assets in a way that best services you and your brand and the people you represent? They usually have another course that deals specifically with music, which is, everything from a music channel to managing music rights, as well as overall like audience development or content strategy, which is, fundamentals to building out brand. This is why these parts of a channel are important. Consistency is key. I think it renews every year, year and a half. So I've kept current with them since 2013. I've always found it such a great refresher of like, not a lot is changing, right? The core fundamentals of like how you manage YouTube assets hasn't changed. But I'm like, okay, are they treating something differently? Is there a new tool that we can try out here? Let's do a refresher. So for our team, I was like, everyone has to do this. This is so helpful. Like, how do we make sure that everyone has a deeper understanding of like well, why are we doing this process this way in the product? And I'm like, it's because of this is the fundamentals of Content ID over here, and we have to respect that. And I'm always about that appreciation of like, well, this is the why we're doing it, not just like do it. So I found it extremely helpful, and I would say anyone who's touching Content ID, apply for this. I hope you get in. I think it's such a useful tool.
Yeah, absolutely. I didn't even know it existed. But then on on the one hand, like I've never worked with the Content ID. I have worked with the like channel API
Oh yeah,
on like web stuff, but yeah, that isn't like managing the Content ID. That's just pulling it to show something on a page. That is all. Not complicated. Yeah. Um, do. So your platform, you really have extensive experience as you said, actually working with creatives instead of telling them what they need or want. How does your experience help them actually scale their um, communities overall?
sure. Yeah, it's always been our guiding light to build for creators and with creators. Like, we consider ourselves a creator first company. My co-founder is Michelle Phan, like the top beauty entrepreneur to come out of YouTube. My other co-founder, Mark Shrebeljan, grew, his career was about editing music content, so music documentaries, interviews, EPKs, and comes from an editing background. And I am become a creator more in recent years, but grew up really understanding the dynamics of creating content as a young person in the digital age. And in recent years, I started making YouTube videos. So really understanding and appreciate from that perspective of, well, how do we build a community where these principles are core to who we are? So when we started the platform, we first launched in a private beta with Michelle's Michelle is a co-founder of Ipsy, the beauty subscription service. So she had this group
I've
of,
totally subscribed to that.
right? It's amazing. She's
I'm
phenomenal.
sorry. Yeah.
But it's she had a group in that community which were she was mentoring, and it was the Ipsy OS studio. So it was these creators who were of a certain subscriber level who were in the beauty and fashion and lifestyle community. And we were able to partner and work with them and really just build the product with them. We asked them, what do you want out of this? How do we make this better? Giving them that magic wand question and really building for these needs. And thankfully, on the music artist side, we did the same. We had focus groups. We brought in all of the independent artists we were working with in our other company. We brought them, like, how does this work for you? What value do you need to see? Like, how could we track this for you? And just built from that perspective. That's been such a through point for us of like, how do we serve this community? I think a lot of the other people in our space all come from traditional music sync licensing, and they're approaching it from a different perspective, right? Of like, oh, creators, this is a new opportunity to, license music, where we're like, well, how do we solve the problems of these two groups of people who are just trying to create and distribute content? So that's totally been a through point. We report to the creators above anything else. We did an equity crowdfunding campaign, I would say a couple years ago now. So literally our creators are investors. And so we report to them. So everything we do, that's our guiding principle first and foremost. And at the end of the day, we find that it's really servicing them. We have such a great community of creatives coming together. They're creating content. We have music artists who are like collaborating on new songs together, or like we have creators and music artists meeting up in person because they're like-minded. And I'm like, this is what we want. This is great. Like, this is why we're here. So it's definitely been like a hands-on
Yeah,
effort.
absolutely. Nice. Yeah, that sounds amazing. And you really like understand how to do this, you know? I can tell. That's awesome. So let's talk about digital rights management. This is something that people have to deal with. Why is it important for music assets?
Sure. Yeah. It's you know, copyright is core to the creation experience, whether you are a music artist or a video creator. Like, you're creating a copyright, and it's in your best interest to protect that copyright and monetize that copyright. So, what good is it going to do you if it's not managed correctly online? So, from a music artist perspective, there are different layers of the copyright, whether it be for the sound recording or the publishing, which is the actual words and melody of the song. And a lot of, unfortunately, like, there's not a lot of education out there for music artists. There are some resources, but like, well, what does it mean when a song is added to content ID? And I think we talked about this earlier, where it's like that copyright claim experience is so bad and scary that people are like, oh, I hate this, it's so bad. But I'm like, it's it's such a good thing, but with a maybe a negative perception around it, in the sense that it's helping these independent music artists monitor their copyright online on different platforms and being able to monetize that and choose what happens with their content. It's a new revenue stream. I would say it's not like a business model by any means, but it's definitely like, hey, there are people out there using your music who maybe you didn't give permission to, or they do not have a valid license. And like, that's, you should, that's part of what you should be collecting as part of your royalties. And the fact that it can go out there and do it for them automatically, especially with Content ID, it's great, right? It's like, hey, this didn't exist before, but we have these new tools which are coming. Similar to TikTok, right? Like, they want to be able to know what's going on with their songs and be able to look at that page of like, oh, these are the people interacting with my music. And like, how do we track it? It all comes down to the copyright and managing those rights online in a digital way.
That's great. Yeah. Um, a follow up to that question, because I wasn't going to ask you a two-part question. I had written it that way, but then I remembered our conversation earlier. Um, so, what can people do to really support new artists in the space?
Sure. I would say, everyone has a different perspective on how they interact with music. So if you're utilizing it in a video or you're utilizing it online, like respect the copyright. If there's a way for you to get a license or permission from the artist, like that'll help the artist out and you're able to make an exchange with them that is fair to what they need, right? So an artist on the level of a Beyonce is going to have a different exchange than someone who just released their song on Spotify who's just doing it for the first time, right? There's different values at different stages in a music artist's career. And it really just comes down to like, you know, get a license through Thematic, talk to them directly, find a way to make it a valuable exchange, but don't just like take it and run with it, right? There's different ways to interact with the content. I would say just as a music fan, if there's an artist you like or appreciate, like give them a like on Instagram. Like the engagement factor and social relevance is a huge help to these artists in terms of like, well, are there people out there resonating with what I do? Do they like my music? Do they like me as an individual? At my core, I'm such a music fan and I have zero musical talent, but I love music artists. And so when my favorite bands come to town, I am at that show. I am buying their vinyl. I am getting their merch. Like I'm all about it. Like interact with them, give them a follow. Because it's not always just about like, oh yeah, stream it here or buy it there, but as a fan, like appreciate what someone does. And that goes across the board, whether it be like a podcast creator, an Instagram creator, music artist, but it's just, hey, let's be respectful of each other and like engage with them in a way that makes sense for you as a music fan.
Yeah, I love that. That's very true. I will totally start to do that because as often as I think about it, like I love when people message me and are like, "I love your podcast," or you know, a course or something like that. I don't do that for fellow content creators enough because it really helps, especially when you're having a bad day or a
Right?
troll just said something to you that was like awful. Yeah.
Yeah, those
It
anything negative
helps to
hits twice as
inspire.
hard. Yeah, it's like totally where it's like those
Yeah.
little moments of light where you're like, you know what, someone appreciated what I did today. They liked that post or they were took the time to send me like a few words being like, hey, that was really cool. Um, yeah, whoever you're following, I that's a great principle to follow.
Yeah, totally. So yeah, let's talk about how do you balance protecting the interests of the rights holders or the artists while at the same time you're ensuring a safe experience for creators who have licenses and who are also really like increasing the value of the assets.
Yeah, totally. It's definitely a balance, right? You're dealing with two creatives and they both are creators, but they're just creating different products. So it's about, if we did everything in service of the video creator, like the music artist may suffer and vice versa. Of like, how do, it's always been our principle. How do we make this a one-to-one value exchange? So then people aren't being compromised of like, hey, you can use the music but here's 20 restrictions on how you can and cannot, right? That's not productive for the creative environment. Or, for the music artists, if they're like, hey, you could put this out there, but then we're not going to monetize it for you. Like you're not helping their revenue stream. Like this is a music artist. There are people out there who aren't using the music legally. How do you make sure that they're still getting their UGC revenue and making it sure that it's, both sides are winning and there's value on both sides. So thankfully that is all handled in the back end with the rights engine so that we're able to validate licenses and stop the friction points on one side, but immediately monetize music artist UGC. So for any non-licensed content is monetized for them. So it's like a lot of that part of it is eliminated. And then we always had the principle of let the creators create. And so long it's not like against a terms of service violation, so long as it's not inappropriate content, like it's so interesting to see the types of content that are created when you bring these two parties together in a very exchange part of way, and not just being like, hey, use this song in your video, right? Like, okay, then you're, the creative mind is like, well, how do I integrate this? It becomes more of like a project. So often we have music artists who are like, oh yeah, my song does well with sneaker videos. And we're like, cool, let's, we'll see what happens. Like, we'll see what community it resonates with. And then they come away after their song campaign, they're like, apparently my songs do really well in makeup videos. And we're like, this is a whole new audience that maybe they didn't think about, of like they didn't realize was engaging with their music. And so that's part of what we provide to the music artist, and understanding what their value was as part of this relationship. It's not just about, put my song in a video and hopefully I get more streams, but providing them the data around who's using the music, how are they using the music, like in what territories are they using the music, because it unlocks new opportunities of like, oh my gosh, like I'm a hit in car videos. Like, let's talk car brand sponsorships. Like, how do I get a sync deal for the new Toyota commercial? Like, there's different opportunities there. So it's really about, valuing the perspective of both of these types of creatives and understanding what's driving them value, and then making sure that's built into the product, so that they're not like struggling, like, oh, this would be better if, but like constantly iterating and making sure it's really just a fair exchange between the two parties.
That is so, so great. I mean, it really helps everybody. And at at the same time, you're taking care of issues as well. Like that it's brilliant. Mwah, chef's kiss. It's fantastic. Um, yeah, so let's talk about being women in tech. How does it make you feel when people are like surprised that women are thriving in tech?
You know what? It's so silly to like run into that at this point when you think about it. I'm like, I honestly, if I enter that situation, I always enter it of like, I'm more surprised when people don't have that representation. And I'm hoping that's where this is shifting to. And you've been in this industry far longer than I have, but it's just a matter of, how do we flip that coin? Like, how do we make it where it's like, you really don't have any women in positions on your tech team? Like, I don't think I want to be working with you. Like, that's not a good vibe of who our who our audience is. We have this worldwide audience on Thematic in terms of users, of like people around the world with languages that I cannot speak, with interests that are not aligned with mine. Like, they might be into like high heels and I'm all about the Allbirds. Like, we've got different vibes. Um, but just being appreciative, like there's so many different perspectives out there, and it's alarming when there's no voice, especially when you're dealing with a worldwide audience. It's yeah, it's a struggle, and I believe, I'm all about action, of like, if there's a problem, let's fix it and let's do it, and let's hire these people who have the representation that makes sense for your community, right? Like, we have a better product because of it, because we have these different voices at the table.
Yes, absolutely. I have had a lot of jobs where I was the only woman on the team. I'm a dev, and those jobs never went well. I'll tell you that. Like, wow. When men are left to their devices, it's like they forget to be people again to women. Wow. Um, but yeah, I started out like I hate that, right? When people are surprised that I'm in tech and that I own a company and that I'm an author and like a MVP and all of this. Now I'm like thrilled by it.
Right? It's
I'm just
such
like,
a
I've
blessing.
impressed this person.
Yeah, like it's, I grew
Yeah.
up with, very
So,
independent values of like, if you want something, do it. And like, if someone's in your way, like, prove them wrong. Like, I'm not out here to like be subject to someone else's, well, this shouldn't be. I'm like, I'm gonna do it. Like, I'm such that person of like, I think we talked about this earlier, of like, well, watch me. Like, you say I can't do that, that's going to make me want it 3 times more. So, be you and do what you have to do to make sure
Yes.
that you have a happy and successful career. And like, kudos to you. I mean, you've got so much talent and like you've built this empire for yourself. And I'm like, if anybody brings you down, they've got
Oh,
other
thank
problems.
you. Oh, you have no idea how much I needed to hear that today. No matter what I do, like I'm an author, I'm a content creator, I'm a tech conference speaker, I wear my tiara while I'm speaking at tech conferences. Like, people still question my credibility and like whether I should have awards or not and stuff like that. Yeah. But just like you, whenever I hear that noise, I'm like, watch me. I'm going
Love
to
it.
blow past you. You're going to be even, more upset about it, irrational anger about
Right?
someone else. Like, nope,
You're
not
like that.
having it.
You're
Not,
like, that's a you
nope.
problem.
Oh my God. That needs to be a quote for to promote this episode. I'll tell my podcast manager, or, she's probably listening to this. Hey, Mariner. Anyway. um, so yeah, I could talk to you all day about this. But sadly, we are coming to the end of our time together. Before I let you go, tell us where people can connect with you and promote yourself.
Love it. Yeah, I mean, probably the best place to find me is on LinkedIn, Audrey Marshall, the one and only. Um, I do post on pretty much any social platform out there. Like I have a YouTube channel, I have a Twitter, I have an Instagram, you name it, I'm around. Uh, but I'd say LinkedIn is great if we want to talk business and do some cool professional things. But if you're into the hiking video, you can catch me on YouTube, same name. Uh, and then obviously on Thematic, like I have a profile there. All my socials are linked. Um, just make it easy.
Awesome. I will have links to all of your stuff in the description. Audrey, this was an absolute joy. Thank you so much.
It was such a pleasure talking with you today. I appreciate you so much for having me on.
Thank you. If you want to support us, please like, subscribe, and share this episode with your fellow gems. Let me know in the comments what other topics you would like me to cover, and follow Tiaras and Tech on social media, including Twitch now, and use the hashtag MakeYourselfShine. Thanks for watching or listening, and have a great day.